All right. Well, we are going to do a topical study today because of everything that's going on in the world. A lot of people are unsure. They're worried, you name it. So we're going to title this, How Christians Can Survive This. With many employers now mandating that employees get the injection or get fired, many Christians are now backed into a corner. They're thinking, okay, do I just get the jab and keep my job? Or do I refuse and risk getting fired, losing my livelihood, and having to worry about all those types of things? And we'll start out with a little bit of bad news here, and I think this is only the beginning. So if you think that your work, you're safe, this is only affecting government workers or nurses or those who work for large corporations, I don't think you escape this, okay? It starts with these people and it goes out to the rest of people. In fact, news sources are now saying that the Pfizer vaccine will be FDA approved as early as Monday, okay? That's tomorrow. Now, when that happens, why do you think they want to do that? Because then state governments, local governments now feel like they have the power and the authority to start mandating vaccines in order to participate in society at all, in order to go to the grocery store, in order to go to, you name it, to do anything. So what will happen then? Oh, and then I'll go on further and say, you think, well, what else can they do? Well, insurers, I have no doubt we'll hear of insurers saying we have to drop the unvaccinated. So if you have employer insurance, they'll probably send a letter out to their employees saying, if you want to remain on our health insurance plan, you have to get vaccinated. Otherwise, you don't get to participate and things like that. They're not, when you put this all together and you see what's going on, this isn't about COVID-19, okay? This is about government power and control, okay? And they are going to do anything and everything to cause us to submit. So what are we going to do? Well, we know persecution isn't new to Christianity. Maybe it's new to Christianity in America, but when you look over at Afghanistan today, now that we left those people behind high and dry, which I don't think we should have been there for 20 years anyways, but the way we left was not good. We just left them, all those people, vulnerable without any safety net. And now they're going through, the Taliban's going through, city to city, town to town, and butchering those people who helped Americans and Christians, okay? Christians are being butchered over there as I speak right now in Afghanistan. So this, and it isn't anything new on the world scene. This has been happening in many third world countries for thousands of years. It's just America was this special place where Christians have not been persecuted since its founding. Okay. And that's starting to change. And you know what? It was fascinating about that is you have Revelation 12 talks about the woman fleeing into the wilderness. Our American forefathers that came to America looked at this land as the land that of protection from the face of the serpent. And it's been that way for, hundreds of years. And so right there, that lets you know something. Americans, we just don't have this perspective. We've been spoiled. We've been brought up as royalty on the earth, and we've abused our position, and we don't cherish our freedoms to worship God as we see fit. But anyways, it documents to me, another documentation to me, that we are the Israelites of the Bible. Because what did it say in Revelation 12? That the remnant of the woman's seed went to this place that was prepared by God for their protection. No other country has ever provided that protection. And our early founding fathers looked at America as the fulfillment of Revelation 12, as they were escaping religious persecution and coming here for a place of safety. But anyways, you look at the Taliban and you look at all the horrible things they're doing over there, and we're thinking, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And you see these people hanging on to the jets trying to onto the military cargo planes trying to get over to America, hanging on even up into the sky and falling down. You see their bodies falling down. And you have to ask yourself, why? It's really bad there. Yeah, it's worse there right now. But man, if they come here, they're likely going to face the same stuff at some point. I mean, you look at the Democrat Party. I dare say the Democrat Party, they are the Taliban, okay? They're the party that wants to force us to cover our faces with a mask. They're the party that wants to force vaccinations into our bodies. They're the party that wants to criminalize Christianity, and on the list goes. If you wonder why Joe Biden just let it fall like that, I don't think it was by accident. I think the Democrat Party is the Taliban by a different name. All right. So what are we looking at here? Well, being a Christian in America is going to also require sacrifice like it does in other countries and like it has since its conception. Coffee shop Christianity is over, okay? There's no more coffee shop Christianity, with the exception of the fake churches that support Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQ movement, and those that encourage you to wear a face mask and take the jab. You can have coffee shop Christianity then, but it'll be fake Christianity, my friends. If you're teaching the Bible and asking people to make a stand, encouraging people to make a stand according to the scriptures, there will be sacrifice. It will come at a cost. Okay. But a word of encouragement, as we look at the scriptures, in face of persecution, not only is God purifying the church, but he's also going to provide a way out for us. Okay. So how can Christians survive this? Well, let's get into the scriptures. Matthew chapter 6, verse 30. I first want to go here to try to comfort those that are in a state of panic. They're worrying. What do I do? Do I just do what the government says no matter what? Do I let them put whatever they want into my body? And on the list goes. Because think about this. And I already did a whole study on this on Thursday. But if you allow the government to put anything and everything they want into your body, you are nothing but a slave. Okay. That's the ultimate freedom. When you let somebody violate your body against your will, you have lost the most sacred freedom that you have. It's already gone. You give that freedom up and the rest of it's going to go. You're not going to have it, guaranteed. And that's why they are pushing it. In fact, what's going on, and I'm going to put it in vulgar terms, is when somebody violates somebody's body in other ways, what do we call that? We call that, it's abuse, obviously, but you call that rape, okay? With the forced jabs and forced injections is a violation when it's done involuntarily. That's in my category. That's raping somebody. You are putting something into their body that they do not want in there. Matthew chapter 6, verse 30. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Okay. Like I said, a lot of people are facing this. Do I just get the jab? And they know, they've done the research on it. They are convinced that it's against the will of God and that it violates many biblical principles and so on. And on the list goes with the objections. But many of them are considering just doing it, okay? Just doing it because they don't want to lose their job. And that's understandable. That's how, that's human nature. But at some point we have to draw the line in the sand. We have to have hills that we're willing to die on, because that's how, not only how Christianity spreads, but how freedom is secured. You got to have a hill to die on. If your line in the sand is movable every time something comes along, then we're going to lose everything. Okay. And we're already at the brink. And I'll say this, a lot of people are faced with losing their jobs, and we're going to talk about what we can do to, there's various organizations that we can support to help help those people. As just one way to do that. But we got to look back at the Israelites when they were leaving Egypt. A lot of them wanted to go back to Egypt because they had job security there. Okay, they had food, and what was the alternative? They were told by Moses to trust an invisible God whom they couldn't see, to rescue them from the most powerful military in the world, the global superpower at the time, Egypt, and all they had to look out at was no job, no home, no security. They're looking out at a desert ultimately with a river in front of them, preventing them from crossing it, and the Egyptians coming after them. Okay. That's, when you look at that and you say, and people are worried about their jobs, so they're going to violate their principles. That's, to me, that's showing a lack of faith. We give in and we cower for every little sign of persecution. We need to exercise faith. Okay, we're not even faced with that quite yet. Take no thought, saying, "What shall we eat?" Here's where we're at. I mean, this is a Christian life, my friends. This isn't advice for somebody long ago. This has been advice for Christians for thousands of years. These are the thoughts that we would naturally have. If I follow Christ and I make a stand, what am I going to eat? What shall we drink? Wherewithal shall we be clothed? How am I going to survive? Okay, then verse, there we go. So I wanted to go there first because God goes on in that chapter and he says, hey, if I clothe the lilies of the field, if I feed the birds, I think that part was in there, how much more, how much more valuable are you than those things, than the grass and the birds and all that? I'm going to take care of you is what God says. Okay. We put our security in God, not in our employers. Okay. Not in our employers. When the Son of Man, I'm going to go to another verse here. And so now we think, okay, so that might, some people might lose their jobs. Well, you want me to read that? I don't have the slides. You want to read it?
Well, verse 33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Take therefore no thought for the morrow, and for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
All right, yeah. That whole section is really good for this. So God says you as a Christian, a church, when you're part of the church that's under persecution, it's a day by day worry. Okay, not that we should worry, but we don't sit and think, do I make a stand or else? It's you make a stand and you deal with whatever comes your way after that. That's what Jesus is saying. Deal with today. Do the right thing now. Okay, so you go to Matthew chapter 25, verse 31, and we know a lot of people may be faced with losing employment, losing things, or else give in. And what can we do to help those people? Okay, so with that idea in mind, check this out. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth the sheep from the goats. This is interesting because a couple of weeks ago I did a controversial study about how God, his plan for the nations is that they remain separate, and that this diversity stuff is against nature, it's against the will of God, and all those types of things. That isn't to say that the church is a multi-nation thing, okay? You can have fellowship and you can have contact with people from all different nations. I mean, that's the church. But when we're talking about nations, Jesus, when he returns, one of the first things he's going to do is separate the nations by their what? Kind, okay? By their tribe, by their lineage, their birth, as the shepherd does the sheep from the goats, okay? That's what's going to happen. And that's not the only verse. So you can't say, oh, Pastor Ben, you're twisting that verse. No, you go to Revelation chapter 7, Revelation chapter 20, 21, when it talks about the Israelites living in New Jerusalem and the nations living outside of that city, all around them, and on the list goes. You read all kinds of prophecies even in the book of Zechariah. It talks about the nations coming to visit the temple, which is in the land of Israel, on the Feast of Tabernacles and things like that. There will be separate nations. But that's not our topic for today. But check this out for this study. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Okay? Your leftists and your rightists, I guess I'll say. The extreme right. Let's separate those two. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. There's no accident that we have the people on the right hand enter into the kingdom and the people on the left aren't going to. It's the same today. For I was an hungered. Now check this out. Why did we come here? For I was an hungered and you gave me meat. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. Naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered or hungry, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. Now, this is fascinating because Jesus was teaching the church how to operate. Okay? He knew tough times were coming. He knew some were going to be thrown into prison. Some were going to be naked. Some were going to be hungry. And he was trying to teach his followers that you take care of each other. Okay? That's how the underground church works in many countries, even to this day. Okay? Today we have this idea that we're all separate warriors. We're fighting this spiritual war. We're wearing the armor of God, which I'll get to, and we're going to take it on by ourselves. That's not how it's ever worked. Okay? Sometimes Christians are cornered and left by themselves. But the idea of the church is that it is a network of believers united together, therefore to help each other. Okay? So what is the message here? Jesus is telling the church how to survive under persecution. He's not talking about, and it's not a bad thing, he's not talking about feeding a stranger or helping somebody that is a non-Christian or just feeding the poor in general. Those are other good things that we can do as Christians to help evangelize and to bring people in. But that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the brethren. He's talking about fellow believers, okay? Fellow believers. He says, if you help them, you help me. Does that totally make sense, right? Because every one of us is a believer. There are people making a stand right now that for their job, a lot of people making a stand, and they don't care if they lose their job because they figure God's going to provide for them, right? Now, if we as Christians don't back them up or help them by making a stand with them or whatever we can do to assist, we're not helping Jesus out, because now those people, like a lot of those people, are afraid to make a stand because they feel like I have no network, I have no friends, nobody's going to back me up. And that's why we lose many of the battles we lose, is because the believers are not there for each other. Well, there's another thing though. Another thing that's hard too is there aren't very many true believers anymore. And that's another, it's hard to find them. Okay. You can go to your coffee shop church and you can find your New Lifes and your whatever. Those are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. But to find a true Bible believing church that's going to stay to the Word of God, or to find other true believers, is not as easy. So That's the first challenge, is finding other believers. Okay. Then, now check this out. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. And in prison, and you visited me not. Okay, it's amazing. You hear this. These verses are taught by the fake churches all the time, but they're not applied in the right way. They're saying, "Oh, we got to help the illegals come into our country," even though they don't want to assimilate into our country, and they're many of them, majority of them, do not have a biblical worldview. They're not true Christians. The big case here, or the big qualifier is, are they one of Jesus's brethren? Are they somebody who represents Jesus on the earth? If not, that's a different category. Okay? Different category. Again, the early Christians, they suffered persecution. They went hungry. They went naked. They went, many of them were in prison. You think about some of these people that go to, there's some that in Canada, even during the COVID restrictions, went to jail for trying to keep their church open. How many of these nominal churches even said anything about those? They probably said, well, those stupid people, they should have listened to the government and put a mask on their face and listened to the COVID rules because they're selfish for doing so. That's the message they gave them instead of, hey, maybe we should stand for them. We should, make, how many of those churches made a social media post saying, hey, stop the mistreatment of Christians trying to keep their church open? Okay. And yet they're the biggest churches that think they're doing the will of God by allowing the illegal immigrants in, all this type of stuff, giving them teddy bears when they cross the border and say, look at me, I'm so holy. Look at me. I'm taking care of the stranger. Many of them would care less if you're in prison for teaching the word of God. Oh, he's a hateful Christian. He teaches against LGBTQ. He gets what he deserves. Bastard. That's their mentality. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not unto me. Least of who? He's pointing out to the Christians, my brethren. If you did it not to the very least of these, you did not do it for me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto life eternal. Okay. This is a warning to Christians, my friends. This isn't a warning to the world. This parable has nothing to do with the worldly people. Okay. They're already going to hell. That's already known. If they don't believe in Christ, they're already going into everlasting torment and sorrow. But Jesus said these are the Christians that won't help other Christians. Okay. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous unto life eternal. Now I'm going to say this. I want to try to give some practical things of ways we can help Christians right now that are refusing the jab. One way we can help them is there is on our homepage, we have some links to various organizations. One of them is the Liberty Council. They are representing Christians who are trying to keep their jobs. They're giving them legal representation for free. And how are they able to do that for free? They're able to do that for free because of from the donations that they get from other people. That's one way. We can donate to causes that are defending Christians. Okay? That's one way we can do that. One way Christian Overcomers can do that specifically is I'm willing to help those that have sincerely held religious beliefs, sincerely held religious objections, biblical objections to getting the jab. If you need help, there we have a link there that gives you that brings you to the Liberty Council, and you can get a form letter for a religious exemption. But if it needs to go further than that and you need a pastor to sign your religious exemption for your employer, please contact me at ben@christianovercomers.com, and I will help you do that. I will sign those for you. If you're sincere, if you're just one of these freedom lovers and you just want an excuse not to get the jab, I'm sorry, my friend, you deserve the jab probably. And that's probably why we have what's going on right now. Because if you're just a freedom lover and you don't want to obey the commandments of God, you are a lost soul indeed. And your cause is lost, okay? The only way we come through this is by turning to God and obeying his will. So I don't want any fakes that just want a free pass. You have to be a Bible-believing Christian, and I will bend over backwards to help you. But if you're not a Bible-believing Christian and you're trying to game the system, again, I believe this judgment is brought upon our nation because of people like you, okay? Am I being hard? Yes, I am. Because if you're one of those people, you need to repent and change your ways, okay? You need to repent and change your ways. All right. So you can help by supporting the Liberty Council. Christian Overcomers can help by, we can sign legitimate religious exemptions. All right. And I'm willing to do that. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. I'll say this as well. There are a number of protests going on in Minnesota here in my state. There are a number of anti-mandate protests, anti-forced injection protests going on at the state capitol, over in Cambridge, Minnesota, Princeton, Minnesota. Everybody needs, it's not just for medical people. And people need to understand that. This isn't just, help the nurses because they help you, or help the doctors because they help you. Because this is coming after you. And besides that, these are fellow brothers and sisters that are, we've been to a meeting before. You see the emotion. People are upset, they're scared, they're nervous, and they need us to stand with them. Okay? They need us to stand with them. All right. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. We're going to go over there. I mentioned the thing about a lot of people. It's, again, number one, it's hard to find true Bible-believing Christians. And that's hard. But once we do, we need to band together and start thinking. I wrote this on Facebook the other day. And I basically said we need to start thinking about how to form our own economies and our own communities in a way, and start thinking about how to form somewhat of an underground church. Okay, the Bible gives us a lot of examples, even Christ himself, of how an underground church should operate. What do I mean by underground church? A church that is under persecution. Okay, and it can't be done all alone. We've got to get in the mindset that we have to start weaning ourselves off of social media more and more, and start banding together with real people and real relationships, so that those people will be there when those other networks are torn down. Okay, because they will be taken down at some point. The handwriting is already on the wall. All right, I'll have more to say about that in a little bit. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Now, I'm going to read this. Everybody's familiar with this chapter, Ephesians 6, put on the armor of God. But there's something in this chapter that we cannot ignore, okay? Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. My friends, all this stuff about the forced vaccinations and everything, it's not about COVID-19. It's not about protecting us from a virus. It is about this war that we are engaged in against principalities and powers that want to make us their loyal subjects. Okay? They want to make us their slaves. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Now, here's what we came here for. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for the saints. Okay? Now think about this. As a Christian, you are in combat. You are part of a war that's taking place on this earth. Okay? Now, when you liken this to a physical war, do we send out one-man armies to go defeat other armies? There's no way. You have a network. You have a supply chain. You have an information gathering system. You have everything. You have a military. It is the same here, because Paul says you need to watch with perseverance for all of the saints. You need to watch each other's backs. Okay, you've got each other's backs, is what the Apostle Paul is saying. It's not just the armor and the sword and all that. Watch each other's backs. And for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel. For which, now check this out, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. Now, Paul many times was imprisoned for the word of God. He was underwent a lot of persecution, and you name it. But that you also may know my affairs and how I do. Tychicus, don't know how to say that one, a beloved brother and faithful minister in the Lord, shall make known to you all things. Now, what did we see there? We just saw something interesting. Paul wrote a public letter. We're going to kind of move down this, switch gears a little bit here and look at how the underground church operated. Paul wrote a public letter that could be viewed by all of the government officials that could intercept it. And he just told them some basic things, right? But he said that he was going to send his faithful minister in person to make known unto him all the other things that he wants them to know. Okay? This is an example of the underground church relaying messages to their congregation in a covert manner. Whom I sent unto you for the same purpose, that he might know our affairs and that he might comfort your hearts. Okay, he might comfort your hearts. So these guys were banded together. You look at even, that's what the early church was. Paul wrote letters, but they were united. I was listening to this one guy give from a YouTube video. This guy's been studying. He's been a missionary in third world countries. He knows how the underground churches work and operate. And he was in one country, and I can't remember what country it was at the time. But he was scheduled to speak at a hotel there of like 1,500 people or something. And just right before the event, the mayor of the town canceled the event, said, you can't have this here. You can't hold these kinds of events. And within 24 hours, this minister was brought to various locations by the underground church there. And eventually they were able to find a place where they met, and he said they had 1,500 people there in attendance. And he said they were able to pull that off in 24 hours. That lets you know that the underground church had a network of believers that were able to communicate and organize an event within an event that large within 24 hours at a different location. I mean, that's amazing. So we have got to start thinking in those terms. Is it going to happen tomorrow? It could, but is it eventually going to happen? I definitely believe it will happen. Okay. We know we're moving into, a lot of people think, oh, this is, this is the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation's coming. It very well could be. But what if this is a generational thing? What if America undergoes an entire generation of communist occupation? Okay. You've got to think long term. You can't just be one of the, as Americans, we just think it's either all or nothing, that there's no transitionary period. Jesus warned us of birth pangs that happen before the tribulation. And I've been trying to warn people about that for years, because a lot of people just think that overnight the tribulation's there, God's going to just miraculously be with us everywhere, 2 witnesses will be here, and we don't need to do any preparation. We don't need to think about lifestyle changes and those types of things. We can just live the same way we're doing now, and then boom, bang, boom, it's all over. That's not necessarily the case, okay? And people from other countries know that. But as Americans, we're very short-sighted when it comes to these things. All right. Peace be to the brethren, and love with faith in God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. All right. Grace be with all them that love the Lord Jesus Christ in sincerity. Amen. All right. Now I'm going to jump to another place. Matthew chapter 13. Now that we're going down the avenue of a church operating covertly, did Jesus ever act covertly? Absolutely. Matthew chapter 13, verse 13, Jesus says, "Therefore speak I to them in parables, because seeing they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand." Okay? So Jesus, what is a parable? A parable is when you speak in a riddle or in code. Okay? In code, why would you do that? Joshua, why would you do that? Why would you speak in code? Why? You don't know? What if you don't want the enemy to know what you're saying because it's not a very strategic move? They'll just come and get you, put you in prison, nobody ever see you ever again. Would you want to just say what you want to say if they said you can't say that? Not all the time, okay? Sometimes you would speak in code. Jesus oftentimes spoke in code. Sometimes it was open. There were times where he went into the temple with a whip and whipped people. But you don't use the same tactic in war in every situation, okay? Think about that. This is warfare. You have to think like a warrior would, and use tactics. So Jesus said, I say things in parables because I don't want some people to understand. Okay. And one of those reasons was some of the Romans would hear what he had to say, or the religious leaders, and they'd have no clue what he was saying. Sounds like jumble to me. Let this man go. Just get him out of here. He's weird. All right. John chapter 7, verse 1. There was another case where Jesus actually went to a meeting in secret and didn't tell anybody he was going. It says, so in fact, his apostles or his disciples were going to go up to the Feast of Tabernacles, right? And he said, hey, it's not my time to go. You guys go and have a good time. It's not my time. And they took that as he's not coming. He's not coming to the Feast of Tabernacles. But then after they left, Jesus disguised himself and went in secret. Okay. And this is what happened. After these things, Jesus walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry because the Jews sought to kill him. Interestingly enough, some of the same people are the same people that are promoting, that control many of these large corporations, that control Hollywood and so forth. They haven't changed. They're doing the same thing. They don't want to hear the name of Christ or biblical truth being taught to the people. So the Jews sought to kill him. And so he didn't walk openly there. He had to be covert. Now the Jews' Feast of Tabernacles was at hand. And his brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence and go into Judea. Oh, I kind of paraphrased this already, but we'll read it. That the disciples may also see the works that thou doest. For there is no man that doeth anything in secret. Okay? So his disciples are saying, hey, you're not supposed to do anything in secret. That's not right. You just need to do this. And he himself seeketh to be known openly. He says, they say, if thou do these things, show thyself to the world. Jesus, if you're really the Messiah, you can't be doing this in secret. Just show the world. Okay? God has a time. What would that have done? God has, think about it. God is the master, he's the best general there could ever be. Okay? He's not a stupid general. He's not going to fight the enemy in a stupid way. He's going to be smart about it. And that's why Jesus isn't going to just go openly yet. He will when it's time. For neither did his brethren believe in him. Even his brethren doubted him. And Jesus said unto them, my time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. Okay? It's, in other words, what he's saying to them, hey, you go, well, he's going to say it here actually. Go ye up unto this feast, and I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet full come. So they're taking this as he's not coming. But when his brethren were gone up, they went. Then went he also up unto the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Jews sought him at the feast and said, where is he? Now, why would Jesus have waited? Why would he go up secretly? Do you think it's possible that he knew that they were going to capture him or kill him maybe on his way there? Or maybe right when he gets there, they had a plan and a plot to capture him and keep him from speaking at the Feast of Tabernacles. Maybe he already knew that. I shouldn't say maybe. He absolutely knew that it was not smart for him to just walk up there openly. In order to get his message across, he had to do it his way, in a covert way. All right? So the Jews are looking for him. And there was much murmuring among the people concerning him. For some said, he is a good man. Others said, nay, but he deceiveth the people. Howbeit no man, now check this out, howbeit no man spake openly of him for fear of the Jews. For fear of the Jews. Now think about that. That's political correctness, my friends. We see that today. And the same people that were keeping people in fear from speaking the truth back then are the same people doing it today. Okay? Same people. Those that claim they are of our brother Judah and are not, but do lie and are of the synagogue of Satan. Okay? So notice this. I mean, we're getting to the point now where there are a lot of people that agree with what we say, but people are afraid to say it. People are afraid to make a stand because they fear the authorities. Verse 14, now about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught. All right, so Jesus made his way. He went in the temple and taught, and he taught a very important lesson to the people. I think that's where he asked all the people, he said, whoever is thirsty, let him come unto me. And he was able to deliver that message, but had he not gone up covertly, he probably would have been intercepted and the message would never have been given. All right. Point being is we have to start thinking like that. Okay? We have to start thinking like that. One thing we can do with Facebook or YouTube is we could still use those tools, but if we go and just say the absolute truth, many times we're just being banned. We're being blocked. It's happened to me. I'm on Rumble right now broadcasting live because YouTube has banned me for a week. And who knows? I mean, they could find a number of violations if they wanted to. If they really wanted to shut me down, we could be shut down tomorrow. It'd be easy. So we've got to be strategic. So you can go over to Rumble right now and you can kind of be a little bit more open. But if you're using YouTube or Facebook, it's time to start thinking of getting the message out, using those tools in a way that can get the message out to other people, but in a covert manner. Parables and the such. All right. Now, Mark chapter 14, another instance of the underground church at work in its very conception. We're leading up to the Last Supper, the famous Last Supper, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the Last Supper was actually a secret underground church meeting. They weren't actually literally underground here, which, by the way, in the beginning of this study, you saw, many of you probably looked close at that picture. There were literally underground churches in caves and throughout the Middle East there, where Christians met, literally underground. There are churches that are literally underground today in China and in Muslim countries. This is a real thing. In fact, when those people in those third world countries read the Bible, it makes a lot more sense to them than it does us. Because the Bible is written in such a way, the whole New Testament is written in such a way that the church was under persecution. Their life was not normal. It was not a cushion thing. And so when they pick up the Bible and read it, they're like, this is us. We're a part of this church. We are, fighting it's real life to them. I just saw a picture the other day, and it was one that was a long time ago, or I don't know how long ago, but it was a while back, where there were all these Christians lined up in orange suits, kneeling on the ground. And you know what was interesting? They were just about to be beheaded by the jihadists. And the looks on their faces was not one of fear, but all I saw was this comfort, peaceful look on every single one of their faces as they were about to be beheaded. It was amazing. There was no sense of fear, no anxiety, no crying. It was just resolute. I'm doing this, and I know where I'm going. Type of a look. And anyways. Mark 14, verse 12. And the first day of the unleavened bread, when they killed the Passover, his disciples said unto him, Where wilt thou that we go and prepare that thou mayest eat the Passover? And he sendeth forth two of his disciples, and saith unto them, Go ye into the city, and there shall you meet you a man bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him. I used to think, this was just a divine sign, right? Like Jesus didn't have this pre-organized somehow. Like, maybe either God or Jesus himself already organized this with this man and said, you're going to stand out here in front of this building and you're going to hold a pitcher of water. And that's going to be a sign for my disciples to come into your house. He already had it prearranged, okay, somehow. And, it's funny because we are so... In fact, I think social media has been like a drug for many Christians. It's been very useful. We've gotten lots of information from it. We've been able to disseminate lots of information, but now we're dependent upon it, almost like I said, like somebody was used to a drug, and we start thinking that we don't need to do things the traditional way, that we don't need to have real fellowship with real people. We don't have to have a real church looking out for each other and so on and so forth. But we're coming to the point now where we know they can cut us off. They cut down the technology. And if we're reliant on technology, we're scared. We're hopeless. Where do we go? Where do we get our food? Where do we find a Bible study? Half of us don't even know where each other's lives. We don't know their addresses. We don't know. Everything's on our phone. If we lose our phone, we don't even have phone numbers. We need to start thinking low tech. Okay. This was very low tech that Jesus was using. And some might say, well, there wasn't technology back then, so he had to. Nevertheless, think about this. The church actually spread and ended up creating what is known today as what became known as Western civilization without technology. Without technology. Okay? You don't need high tech to form the church. So this is an example of low-tech communication. And whithersoever he shall go in, say to the good man of the house, the master saith, where is thy guest chamber? Where shall I eat the Passover with my disciples? So this is what he told them. When you see this guy holding the pitcher of water, then you say to the good man of the house, where is the guest chamber? You just go up to him, talk to him like you know who he is and you know what you're doing. And he'll help you out. And he will show you a large upper room, furnished and prepared. There make ready for us. Okay, so Jesus didn't announce this to the world and say, hey, guess what? On the Passover, I'm meeting with my disciples in the upper room. This is going to be the Last Supper before I'm betrayed and crucified. Anybody want to come and know about it? No, this was only meant for Jesus and his 12 apostles. There were times when Jesus went public. There were times when he was in the house and he gave private messages. Both were very useful. So the whole house was going to be prepared and furnished, ready for their underground final church meeting with Christ before the crucifixion. And his disciples went forth and came into the city and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. Okay. Now, another interesting thing was why, you notice all throughout Bible history, even in the book of Acts, you go to the day of Pentecost, right? It says the day of Pentecost, all of the early church, which was very small at the time, what was it, 100 and something people? They were all together with one accord. They were together in person when the Holy Spirit came upon them. Okay, on the day of Pentecost. So here we see all throughout history, the church during the book of Acts, Jesus with his disciples, it was important that they had each other. They met in person, okay? It wasn't just letters they sent back and forth to each other. No, Jesus said, you're going to come here, we're going to have supper together, okay? We're going to have supper together. There are many cases of the early church where they went house to house among each other, breaking bread and having fellowship. There is something very powerful about that. But he answered and said unto him that told him, we're moving to a different chapter now. And I think we're getting close to the end here. Matthew chapter 12, verse 48. I'll read this and I'll comment. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my brother and who are my brethren? Right before this, his disciples said, hey, your family's looking for you. They're worried about you. And then Jesus said, who is my mother and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. Think about that. That was his family, was his disciples. Now, you think about this. You think about the importance of this. Think about your immediate family. If you never spent time with your immediate family, is that family going to be united? Is it going to be a cohesive family if they never get together in person? They never see each other. No way. There's just not going to be that love and that unity and that looking out for one another, keeping each other from falling. Somebody might be struggling with some sin and they might need a spiritual family member to encourage them to overcome that. When you're all by yourself, you're not accountable to anybody. You can sin in secret all you want and then get on the internet and say, I'm a part of this church, or I'm a part of that church, but yet you're living a life of unrepentance. It's easy to hide under the cracks. Are we promoting that people have overlords over them, watching over them, making sure they're not sinning? No. But there's something about accountability of real people that you would be ashamed of if you knew they knew you were doing what you were doing. And so I think that's one of the reasons why why technology has become a crutch to a lot of us, is that we can feel comfortable. We can hide out. We can do what we want without being accountable. But anyways, you got to spend time with your family, and that is So important. Jesus said that the disciples are his family. Matthew 12, verse 50, so he continues on. He says, "For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother, my sister, and my mother." All right, backing up. This is our last verse. So in conclusion, hey, you look at all this stuff. Again, the main point of this study was to stress the importance that we need to start thinking like the original church. We can, our days are numbered on social media. We know it. There's already censorship. I've tried to post a link or a video on Facebook, and it's been like this for several years since the election of Donald Trump back in 2016. I've noticed that my posts do not make it into the news feed, because I'll post a video and it'll get 0 response, 0 thumbs up or whatever. I post a comment in written text, very similar to what's in my video, and I could have 75, 80 plus likes. So that tells me I know my videos or websites, they're being hidden. These people, a lot of my friends like the things that I believe, and they agree with what I'm saying, yet nobody's seeing those things, okay? So, in other words, the handwriting's on the wall. These, I think we should, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit here. I think we should keep using those tools in the meantime, while not making them a crutch, or while not making them a replacement for the real church, for the real family, okay? We can go out and we can evangelize with those tools still. But I think the ultimate goal of those tools should be used to bring people into the real church, okay? I have no interest in starting an international website, YouTube ministry at all, because there's no future there, okay? If that's your future and you're going to put all your eggs in a basket like that, you're going to end up compromising your beliefs, and you're going to go along with what they say, and you won't be able to reach anybody with the real truth anyways. But I'm all for using those tools to reach out to people and bring them into the real church. But people have to know they are not a replacement. Those people that are watching me right now on Rumble, our ministry is a great help to you. But if you live in, let's say, Tennessee or Alabama or some other place, you can't rely solely upon Christian Overcomers as your church, okay? Use us as your church. Support us while we can reach you. But you need to find fellow believers near you that you can start networking with as a church and meet together, share meals together, have campfires together, have Bible studies. And think about this too. We all need to be fed, not only spiritually, like messages like these, but we need to be fed with the fellowship of smiles and hugs from people. My wife brought that up, so I remember. Because I asked her, I was like, why is it important that we meet in person? What would you say? And her first thing was, we need to hug each other. All this type of stuff, So that's important. That builds strength. It builds fortitude. When you know there are real people who love you and there are real people that think like you, because the switch gets shut down tomorrow. And if you're all by yourself with no network of believers, it's going to be a lot harder to make it through the battle. You don't have other saints looking out for you. They might be praying about you in general, like, hey, pray for those people down in Texas who I don't even know. Lord, please help them, okay? But it's not the same as these people. I mean, Paul knew these people by name. He's referring to people by name. When I send so-and-so to you, this was a personal thing, okay? A personal thing. So I guess that's all I have to say. If anybody has any ideas or comments on what we can do, this was merely just another introductory study to jar people into getting off the drug of social media and technology and to start thinking about the future and where things are headed and how you can stay connected, okay? Because they're coming. There are many other things that people can start doing. People can start trying to, obviously, prepare with food and other survival type stuff so you can get through periods of hard times. I'll just say one more practical thing. I think a lot of you, what you should do and I'm going to start doing this as well. I'm going to keep a secret notebook somewhere, not on my computer. Okay. So, and I'm going to start writing down all my close fellowship contacts with their names and their addresses. And if you're a bad guy watching, you'll never get it anyways. I'll protect it. So you keep all of your contacts in a hard written copy that you keep in a secure location. Why addresses? Well, if something goes down and you want to check on your neighbor and you don't even know if he's surviving, if he has food in his house or not, or if he's sick, how are you going to get there to know if he's doing okay? Okay. You might have an elderly person that you know is a Bible-believing Christian. They could be all by themselves. If all you have is their Facebook profile thing and Facebook's gone and you have no way of helping them, they're stranded. Okay. So you need phone numbers, addresses, directions to places, those types of things, because again, will this happen tomorrow? I don't know, but it could. You literally, our country could come under cyber attack from China. The entire power grid could go down. And now you have no means of connecting with anybody. Okay. We don't want to be caught in that situation. So anyways, now we will do questions and comments in a brief moment. Be sure to join us live every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. for prophecy updates and Sunday mornings, 10:30 a.m. for our line-by-line Bible studies. If you live near Princeton, Minnesota and would like to join us in person for our Sunday morning church services, please email me at ben@christianovercomers.com for details and directions. Also, be sure to visit our website at christianovercomers.com to sign up for our weekly email updates, find our latest prophecy updates on video or podcast, catch up with our line-by-line studies, also available on video or audio podcast. And we even archive all of our studies by date. So if you have a phone or a tablet, bookmark this page so you can play our studies on the go while you're driving, going for a run, or doing chores. Now to our questions and comments. All right, welcome back. We are going to do questions and comments. Damien, do we have any?
Well, I'm not sure on the live chat because this is my first time using Rumble, so I don't see any, but it could be because I'm not refreshing properly. But I have a couple of comments. One is that, I don't know how to word this without sounding judgmental, but when the Bible talks about God will take care of you like he takes care of the birds and the grass, I wholeheartedly believe that. But I also believe that there are a lot of people out there that believe that they are Christians and they're not. You know, just because they went to the front of their church and prayed the sinner's prayer and then it went off, you know, and now they think they're not obeying the Bible or they're not studying the Bible and other things, other factors that would end, in my opinion, if they haven't been baptized. So it could be tricky because some people could be sitting here relying on this scripture and not even realizing that they're not living the life of a Christian. And so right. That doesn't apply to everybody that just, I believe in God. That only applies to true Christians. And so, I mean, I just think you see a lot of people that, you know, get mad at God or, you know, it's like, why is this happening? But, well, maybe you're not living a righteous life. Maybe you're not a Christian.
Well, and another thing about that verse, and I should have mentioned it, is some people look at that verse and they think, I don't have to work. I don't have to prepare. I don't have to do anything. God's just going to take care of me. And what I really wanted to stress was that scripture was mainly for the church during a time of persecution. It wasn't during a time of peace and prosperity and all those types of things. So when you're under persecution and you're making a stand and you might lose everything or that's what Jesus is talking about.
And I think it also goes if you're in unrepentant sin too.
Yeah.
I don't think these promises apply to people that aren't living truly to God's word. You know, even if they are a Christian, and you're just living in an unrepentant sin. This is just my opinion. I don't think this scripture applies to you. That He'll take care of you like a bird or like the grass. But I could be wrong.
Well, it does say, and that's why I interrupted study, was because part of the thing. It does say, but seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all those things will be added unto you. So that's the clarifying thing. It's not just like what you said, you do the altar call and okay, I'm good. No, it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, meaning living it.
And his righteousness, it says.
Like you still have to try your hardest. Like he only helps you if you're like struggling. Then he'll provide for you, right?
Exactly. Yep. If you're struggling to do what's right. Yep. Good job.
And the only other thing is if people around the country or the world, it's hard to find a true Bible-believing, teaching church. The other option is to continue to go through Christian Overcomers. Obviously, if the internet goes down or something, that's a whole other story, and they should still get their own fellowship group. But you can have a fellowship group and use you as the pastor until you find somebody that can teach or understand or whatever. But just because you're using Christian Overcomers as your church doesn't mean you can't have a fellowship and all sit and get together in the morning and watch the video, or have whatever day you want and watch the videos that have been pre-recorded. Again, until you find your own church or your own teacher. Or
that's a good point, because even if let's say we don't have YouTube, we don't have Facebook, there'll probably be a time where we'll still have a website, ChristianOvercomers.com. So that'll probably be the last thing to go, where they'll be able to take away websites. But you can. Well, and then if that goes down, email would be like the last thing to go down. If you get on our email list, like we try to encourage people to do, we could still share information that then you could take to your local church,
right,
your local church group. So it's still good for the larger international type, voices to be heard by the smaller groups, because they can pass down information to, enlighten those people that they can then pass on to. We still want to, like I said, you don't want to just ignore some other people that you're benefiting from. I know I benefit from some people that live across the nation, and I will do whatever I can to stay in contact with them to get their stuff. But it's not going to replace, in my mind, the efforts to have a local church.
Right, and you can use it as a tool, like you said. You could use Christian Overcomers as a tool within your church.
Yeah, and an example of that is Paul. He was not part of the smaller cells of these local churches. He was the guy that went in between a lot of them.
Right.
And he did it by either traveling in person or by sending a letter with somebody. So there's still examples where that's still a necessary thing to do. It keeps us it keeps all of our smaller bodies united together in the fellowship. And it's nice. It would be nice to hear how let's say we're under big time persecution. It would be nice to know what's going on with our brothers and sisters in Texas or in Idaho or you name it, any of the 50 states, other countries even. So we can pray for them. If they need prayers, we can intercede for them. So I get the big point is we need to stay connected, and we need to realize that our days are numbered in a lot of places, and digital forms of communication can be totally shut off if we have no power. Number one, if you have no power, you have none of that. No email, nothing. All right. So I could go on and on, stress that, but it would be very interesting for a lot of people to study how the church in China operates or the church in the Middle East. Look at those people and be ready, because like I said, America's it's an anomaly. It's different. I mean, Christians in other countries, this has just always been their way of life, living under persecution, living under threat of being reported to the government and all those types of things. So we should learn from history and learn from others that are doing it now.
Amen.
Anything else? Jacob? All right. All right. Well, we will. I don't know where we're going to proceed from here. Actually, I'd like to get your guys' feedback. Who would rather see us stay live on Rumble or go back to YouTube for our messages that we can encode in a way that hopefully won't get blocked? Where do you guys want to see us? On Rumble or YouTube? We're still going to use YouTube no matter what. It's just I'm not sure which place we're going to live stream. But the recording will go up on the other one for sure, unless we do something very open that we know YouTube's going to block. Our video won't even go up there. We're not going to chance losing the platform. If we can just use Rumble for that. I mean, they have their site set up on us. So if I post something over it, it's just going to cut off our communications with our YouTube followers. So we're not going to soften the message or give in, but we'll just have to be very smart about how we say things. All right. We will see you. I think we'll be either on Rumble or YouTube on Thursday. I think our ban will be up. But it depends on the message I want to give. I'm not sure where we're going to be. And it depends on the feedback I get where you guys want to see us. So God bless you. See you next time.
Christian Overcomers is brought to you by the tithes and offerings of our listeners. If you would like to support our ministry, please go to ChristianOvercomers.com. God bless you, and thank you for your support.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on.